I am here with Nancy Coughlin, the Executive Director of Neighbor to Neighbor in Greenwich. Thanks for sitting down with me today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll get started. Can you just give me a brief history of Neighbor to Neighbor and what it is?
Yeah. So, Neighbor was formed in 1975 by a group of people who had children who were outgrowing their clothes and were frustrated that there was no place to really recycle them. And they knew that there were people in the community who needed. So they got together, and it really started with their own kids' clothes that they were outgrowing, um, collecting from their friends. And like many, many nonprofits and movements, it grew and grew, and more people became involved. And so in those early years, we were a clothing distribution program where people could donate their used clothes and they would be distributed to people in the community who needed them. And then in the mid 80s, in 1984, the town of Greenwich approached us and asked us to take over their food distribution program. So in the mid 80s, we added food. And we, right from the beginning, we were operating out of the basement of Christ Church. So we had a small little space, and we had one room where we collected donated food and packed grocery bags for clients and gave them a grocery bag of food.
Okay.
In 2005, the church dedicated some extra space for us to open what's called a client choice pantry. So we were the first food program in the area to open client choice. And the joy of that is that it's set up like a grocery store so people can shop for their own food. So we use a point system that determines how much food each family gets, and it's based on the size of the family. But from that point system, our clients can choose which type of cereal they want, which type of vegetables they want, which type of fruit they want. So we're able to accommodate not only the personal taste of our clients to the extent we have what they want. It's not an unlimited selection. But also if anyone has dietary restrictions, religious restrictions on the types of food they eat, we try to make sure that we have kosher food, vegetarian food. We do vegetarian substitutions. So having a client choice pantry really provides the kind of dignity that our clients deserve so that they can select the food that they are interested in. We try to make it as much like a grocery shopping experience as possible. The difference is that no money changes hands. So everything we distribute is free. Our clients have to qualify to come, which means they need to be referred by a social service organization or a church or house of worship or the public schools. They need to meet income guidelines, and they need to meet residency guidelines. So our food pantry serves Greenwich residents, and in our clothing room, we also serve Stamford and Portchester, in addition to Greenwich.
Great. And you have 3 food programs and 1 clothing?
Yes.
Okay.
We provide a weekly food program for Greenwich residents, which is unique. Most food pantries are emergency food pantries or at most once a month. Our clients can come shop once a week. So one of the real benefits of that, aside from the fact that it sort of fits in with how most of us live our lives. Typically, we all grocery shop once a week if we have a family. But it allows our clients to have fresh produce throughout the month. So we always have fresh fruits and vegetables. And if you're going to a monthly food pantry or an emergency food pantry, even if you're getting a month's worth of food, you're not going to have fresh produce. So our clients are able every week to get fresh produce. So that's really a joy that we're very, very proud of. And we're very happy about the relationships we've established in the community to help us provide fresh produce. It's really grown exponentially over the past 3 years. Community gardeners, people growing in their backyards are donating their excess produce to us every week. So we're really thrilled about that. So that's our weekly food program for Greenwich residents.
Okay.
We'll also provide one-time emergency food for Stamford and Portchester residents while we hook them up with the food pantries that serve their area.
Okay.
And then our third food program is what we call a summer supplement. So during the summer months, during the 8 weeks of summer, we provide additional food. In addition to a family's regular allotment of food, they get extra food to provide lunches for their school-aged children. So anyone that has school-aged children, our clients are all eligible for free and reduced price lunch through the school system. In the summer, of course, they're not in school, they're home. That's an extra expense for their families, and it puts an extra strain on them, and they may not have access to the types of healthy food that they have during the school year. So we provide them with extra food so that they can maintain their nutrition during the summer months.
And why is Neighbor to Neighbor crucial in this community?
So we're the only food pantry that serves Greenwich. And we do have a significant population of people who are eligible for services here in Greenwich. There's 16% of the school-aged population is now eligible for free and reduced price lunch. So that's a marker that we use to really gauge the need in the community, and that has grown. It's double what it was in 2005.
Wow.
So what we've seen is that in the Great Recession, our client demand jumped. We had a 50% demand between 2008 2010, and that demand has remained at that level. We're now growing 1 to 2 to 3% a year, but those people who became eligible, their income dropped to the point where they meet our guidelines. The numbers have not gone down. So we still have a high number of people who are eligible for help, and that number is continuing to grow slowly. I mean, it did level off, but it didn't go back down. I think, a lot of us were watching to see if we would go back to our pre-recession numbers, and we didn't. So there is a significant population in Greenwich who qualifies for services and who needs services. Some of them, particularly, are older seniors. About 16% of our clients are seniors. Those people tend to come for years. Their situation is not going to increase, probably, unless, they win the lottery, perhaps. So we know that those clients are going to be coming for many years. Other clients come and go. Some will come for a month or 2 or 6 months, and then, perhaps while they're out of work or they're in a transitional job. One thing we saw with the economy is that while the numbers of jobs has increased since the recession, the quality of the jobs has not. So particularly in Greenwich, where we have a lot of financial sector employees, a lot of those jobs are gone and not coming back, as far as we can tell. So a lot of the jobs that replaced those high wage jobs were lower wage jobs, service sector jobs that don't have benefits. So for a lot of people, they lost income during the recession, and it has not come back for a lot of people. So it is really critical. All of the nonprofits in town are seeing this. This is a trend that is with us, and I think we all share concern about the coming year or two and what's going to happen. And there's some indicators that things could get rough again. So we're all watching that, but there's definitely a need in town. And the services we're providing are really making sure that people have a basic sustainability, we're providing real basic essentials, food and clothing. And we're doing it in a way we feel maximizes the nutritional value of what we're doing. So what we really want to make sure is that everybody has access to nutritious food, and children have access to nutritious food. There's many, many studies that show the benefits of healthy food, particularly with children. There are social benefits, there are educational benefits. Kids that don't have proper nutrition are not able to learn in school. They're more likely to get in trouble, they're more likely to have social issues. That puts a strain on the schools. So really, it's one of the most basic building blocks. If you've got nutrition, you've got to have nutrition before you can have these other successes. So we're really trying to make sure that everybody has access to that.
And you said the need is growing. How is Neighbor to Neighbor also growing to keep up with this need?
Well, anybody who's been in our space knows that we are really cramped in what we're doing. We've got, the church has been tremendously generous in essentially giving us for almost nothing this space. And that's allowed us to be the organization that we've been for 40 years. It's allowed us to put 91% of every dollar donated right into our programs. So, we're purchasing food with that money. We have very, very low overhead. So that's the joy of it. That's the good side. The downside is that it's really just no longer meets our needs. We're not handicap accessible. There's stairs that are tricky for both donors and clients. So we are in the process of going through the zoning process to get approvals to build a freestanding building. So what we hope is that we will be able to have a building that is accessible to everybody, and has sufficient space so that we can really do what we need to do. Right now, one of our limitations is that our clothing room in particular, when you drop off clothes, is so small and cramped and overwhelmed with bags of clothes that there are times where our volunteers are just literally tripping over each other and over items.
Right.
So we want to make sure that people have enough room to move to really efficiently do what we need to do. We're not anticipating changing the way we qualify our clients. So the people who are eligible for our services are eligible by virtue of the economy, really, as opposed to what we're doing. So we'll continue offering the same programs that we're offering, and we'll have to see if, if the numbers of people who are eligible for our services continues to grow, or hopefully, I think everybody would love it if the need completely disappeared, right? That's always the dream, is to make sure that nobody has to rely on a food pantry or a clothing room to meet their basic needs.
You talked about dignity. Would building this freestanding building, would that add more to people's dignity who use your services?
Yeah, so one thing we do right now, because we do have clients who can't navigate the stairs, is we work with the Greenwich Department of Social Services and the Transportation Association of Greenwich to home deliver food. We have about 30 clients a week who, and there are probably more who would benefit from this if we had the capacity to do it. We deliver food to their homes because they just can't. Some of them are really truly homebound. Some of them just can't navigate the stairs that we have. So if we were fully ADA compliant, right, the dream is that they would be able to come and take advantage of the client choice system, because when we deliver to them, we're packing their bags for them.
Right.
And I have to say, I've done it, and I just am always uncomfortable wondering whether they would prefer carrots or peas. You have to make your best guess. So that's one of the ways that it'll increase the dignity, and it'll just be a light-filled, attractive building that'll be a nicer place to be. Again, because we're in the basement, our clothing room, for example, has no windows. There's no natural light. So there are a lot of ways that it'll be qualitatively more user-friendly.
Great. And how does the church help neighbor to neighbor? I know it supplies you with space, but anything else?
We have a tremendous amount of support throughout the religious community, in Greenwich primarily. All of the houses of worship provide funding, volunteers, and support whenever we ask. It's really a tremendous community in that regard. First Presbyterian Church had provided some of the seed money for this new building project. They've been a great supporter of that. The way we staff our operations is primarily through volunteers. So we've got 5 paid staff. I'm the only full-time staff. And so the bulk of the work is done by volunteers. During the week, we have volunteers who commit to a 4-hour-a-week shift, so that they tend to come in every week. On the weekends, we save our Saturday morning volunteer slots for community groups. So, for example, Trinity Church will come as a group on Saturday to volunteer. Christ Church will come as a group to volunteer. Some of the youth groups, Temple Shalom, all of the houses of worship, as well as corporate groups, school groups. Greenwich Country Day does a tremendous amount for us. So we are one of those nonprofits that truly relies on the community for everything, for our funding, for food drives. The schools are a tremendous source of food drives for us, clothing drives as well, and the entire community is really involved. Corporations, schools. It's really a true community effort to make this happen.
And as the executive director, how does that make you feel that the whole community is behind Neighbor to Neighbor?
Oh, it's tremendous. I mean, I feel so blessed. There's no way that we, as a small organization, would be able to do the work that we're doing without the tremendous amount of community support. And our mission is to provide for the exchange of food, clothing, and basic living essentials. So we really recognize that what we're doing is meeting the needs of our low-income residents, but we're also meeting the needs of the community in the sense that there are so many people who want to give and want to be part of something bigger than themselves and volunteer and run a drive. And, you know, we have a lot of Greenwich, we're right down the street from Greenwich High School. A lot of Greenwich High School kids do their community service as well as a lot of the private schools. So we really recognize that what we're doing is providing an opportunity, particularly for young people, to understand what it means to give back, but the greater community as well. I mean, people really feel they need places where they can connect. And even from our very beginning, our very roots, the idea was to bring people together, those who have, those who need, and create a dialogue. And I do think we really do that. We're really able to have donors and clients together in a way that breaks down some of the barriers and stereotypes. And for me, that's something that's really special about Neighbor to Neighbor. We see it most clearly with our high school and some middle school kids who do community service projects. A lot of kids will come in and they'll spend a 2-hour shift or a 4-hour shift, and they'll walk away having had an experience that they'd never had before in their life. And it's simple. Sometimes it's just packing a grocery bag for somebody, but often when they go home, and we hear this from parents all the time, they say, you know, they never knew that there were people that had a need in town. To me, it's very important that people, particularly high school kids who come, see that the people who do come to a food pantry look just like them, right? I mean, there's a lot of breaking down of stereotypes. So there's a lot of giving and taking, and everybody is benefiting from it.
And you personally, you see people in need and at tough times all the time. How do you keep going and stay positive for the people you serve?
There's as much joy as there is heartache. You know, there really is. The reasons I work in nonprofits and at Neighbor to Neighbor is the same reason that hundreds of people volunteer, because you come away from it knowing that you've done a little bit to make the world a better place. So that's what that's what makes the difference.
Great. And what is an example of something you do maybe every year to help people, like the turkey drive?
Right. So there's a number of different sort of one-off events that we do. One is the turkey distribution. We've always distributed turkeys at Thanksgiving, but a few years ago we started really making a concerted effort to have enough to meet all of our family's needs. So when King's took over the space that used to be Porcelli's Market, and now it's King's Market in Old Greenwich, we partner with them every year, and they provide 400 turkeys. And then with some of our other community partners, St. Michael's is a big one. They provide a lot of turkeys for us. We're able each year to have 600 turkeys that we can give to our families, and that pretty much allows us to make sure that each of our families has a turkey. That's about how many families we serve. Again, we don't have freezer space to house 600 turkeys. So the way we make this work is we have a turkey day, and we have one day when the truck comes in and drops off the turkeys, and we tell our clients to come get your turkey that day, and we have all our volunteers come, and we just hand out turkey after turkey after turkey. So that's become a fun tradition. We also 2 years ago started the Prom Project, which is a partnership with Greenwich High School Former Attire Club. And the girls at the, you know what, I say girls, there could be some boys in that club as well. I think it's mostly girls. But the Former Attire Club students collect prom dresses throughout the year. And then we're going to do 2 days this year. Last year we did 3 days a set aside time to do a distribution. So it's like a pop-up shop. And we use the Thomas Higgins House, which is on the Christ Church campus, which is a beautiful historic house, provides a lovely setting, a lovely backdrop for these dresses, and there's room for girls to try on dresses with full-length mirrors. So we have given away over 85 dresses so far, and we're going to do our prom project next week, Friday afternoon and Saturday all day, so that high school girls can come get a prom dress if they can't afford one. So a few years ago, we had a girl, before we started this prom project collaboration, a high school girl came in and she was looking for a prom dress, and our volunteers were able to find one for her. We don't always have them, but sometimes we do. And afterwards, she sent us a photograph of herself, and she's stepping out of a car on prom night, and on the back she wrote, "Thank you for the gown. The night was perfect."
Oh.
And it was such a lovely gesture
Mm-hmm.
that really made us say, you know what, nobody should have to go into prom without a dress.
Yes.
So this is a lot of fun. I always have too many volunteers because everybody wants to help everyone find a prom dress.
Right.
This year we started a couple of volunteers of ours started what is called the Undies Project, and they did their first drive was called Mardi Gras. So during the Mardi Gras, they did a bra drive. So we had over 800 bras donated through that drive. So we pulled out the strapless ones. And so this year for the prom, we'll have strapless bras, we'll have some shoes and some accessories in
That's
addition
great.
to dresses. So that's becoming another great tradition. And then we have a couple of big food drives that happen through the year that we pull in volunteers for. In May, the second Saturday in May is always the Stamp Out Hunger food drive, which is the town-wide food drive done by the National Association of Letter Carriers. And we pre-print bags that we distribute to everybody's home. So everyone should get a plastic bag in their mailbox that has the details of the drive on it. Put some food items in it, leave it out by their mailbox, and the letter carriers pick them up and bring them to us. And then we make sure we have hamburgers and hot dogs and soda, and it's like a big cookout. So that's a fun way to make that's clearly our biggest food drive of the year.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, so we try to make giving fun.
Right.
Yeah.
And how can people give and help if they want to?
We have the obvious needs. Funding is always needed, and we are a 501c3 nonprofit, so all donations are tax deductible. We're always looking for donations of food, shelf stable, unexpired. Always looking for donations of clothing. We never have enough linens. Linens is sheets and towels, particularly queen and king size sheets, is a need that we've never been able to meet. Diapers is a need as well. And we love to have people that organize food drives in their neighborhood or in their business, or in a civic group that they're part of. And we can provide all of the materials, flyers, and how-to instructions, that sort of thing. So that's a tremendous help to us. We really rely on the community for the donated items that we give out.
Great. And what is your favorite part of having Neighbor to Neighbor in Greenwich?
Oh gosh, what is my favorite part of having Neighbor to Neighbor in Greenwich? I think all of the things that we've just been talking about. My favorite part is the connection, is having an organization that everybody can be involved in. And you can do a lot or you can do a little. You can come once a year to volunteer. You can volunteer every week. You can give a $5 donation. You could give a large donation. There's so many ways to be involved. And it doesn't involve, it's I think easy for people to understand and see immediately the impact that you're having. So it's a very rewarding experience to be involved in this organization. I love the fact that we are still very grassroots, still very volunteer run. So, when someone calls up and says, I want to be involved, I want to help, I'm able to say, great, yes. That's what I love the most about it.
Great. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Thank you.
This was Nancy Coughlin, Executive Director of Neighbor to Neighbor. I'm Taylor Knight for the Greenwich Sentinel.